to another episode of Nerd Age. This is the show where we talk about everything nerdy. My name is Mick. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
Hello.
And Jonah.
Hey, yo.
Welcome to the show, guys. We're going to jump right into some Last of Us HBO TV series discussion. First episode released yesterday, and we all watched it here, so we're gonna talk spoilers. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, we got an hour 20, which about halfway through, I was like, wait, how long is this going to be? And I checked and I was like, dang, that's awesome.
It went pretty fast.
And it went really fast.
Yeah.
It flowed really well. And I'm going to be honest. I mean, the acting was super good. And the story, like how they built up all the stuff leading to the moment with like Joel and his daughter was I really enjoyed that addition. It wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
So the whole backstory of like the scientists going over like this is how fungus works and you know all this stuff and that's the greatest threat to mankind, blah blah blah. And then all the time investment they had with what's her name, Sarah,
yeah.
was really good too. I thought it was really awesome. And most of the story points that happened ultra accurate to the intro in the game. So it was really like a breath of fresh air. I don't know. It just felt really good to watch all these things unfold in live action because the story really fit well for it. And the actual like shooting of it, it was like they were almost doing like a hybrid video game and like live action kind of like thing. Like one of the things that kind of stood out to me is during the truck, like when they're in the truck driving around, it felt almost like a video game, but not in a bad way. More like, hey, this is like what Sarah's seeing. And she's like, you're focusing on this, then you focus on that. Yeah. And all this stuff happened in the game. So it's like, it worked. And I thought, oh, was it too shaky? Did Jonah get a little woozy?
A little dizzy?
Did he? Because I thought it was a little shaky, but it makes sense because it was all hectic and crazy. But
yeah, that whole scene is like basically shot for shot.
Yeah,
exactly the same as as that game. So it was really well done. And I feel like you really kind of, I mean, I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I was like, you know, getting like tense and like, oh man, like what, you know, what's going to happen next kind of a thing, even though like I've played the game before and I already knew what was going to happen. But yeah, I thought it was really well done. Specifically that scene. And yeah, just the build up, like you said, Corey, they added the backstory of like, you know, like basically her going on her own little adventure and stuff like that. And like just kind of getting that acquaintance with her.
It builds investment in the character.
Her meeting the neighbors, because in the game, the neighbor attacks you basically. You don't, you have no idea. It's just Jim. I think something's wrong with Jim. And he breaks through the window. So having that, like her talk to them and like see that she knows them, that scene where she's looking at the DVDs and the grandma starts like twitching and
that was crazy.
That was
dude.
Awesome.
I got like It vibes from that.
Yeah, it was definitely
very horror.
Yeah, very horror.
I remember watching that and being like, "No way they're doing that. That's so cool!" Like everyone's looking there, right? Because it's all blurred background and it's just a very simple looking at the DVD, and it's like that's the only thing that like draws your eye to it. And it's just really well done.
Very well done. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was an awesome first episode. I really didn't have any. There's really no nitpicks that I have or any issues I had with the episode. Everything flowed really well. The intro is awesome. I'm a sucker for intros, so I really enjoyed the intros and
nice imagery. Very cool. The music, they're true to the game.
Thank goodness.
They use the intro music, which is perfect.
I
don't know why they don't do that. That's like the first thing that they do wrong when other companies try to remake a video game like into a live action. They change the song. It's like fools.
It's so stupid.
It's such an easy like knock out of the park. Like it's such an easy underhanded throw. Like you can it's so easy.
Just lob it up.
Because we're all fans of it and we're all connected in that way because it is a super good score also and it's very like emotionally charged.
Yep.
And it was just awesome. It went well with kind of the imagery. I love how a lot of these series are doing these like cool intros. I mean, I don't want to say it's like Game of Thrones, but like they're doing like 3D renderings.
Yeah.
And they're making it look super realistic and they're doing these really cool like imagery. I think this is way better than Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones is just the map and the buildings and it changed and stuff. But This one is really cool because it had like the fungus things like growing into like these buildings.
Yeah.
To
And
show
then
like,
the people.
oh, and the people at the end, and Joel and Ellie at the end too. And it's like, it's cool, like symbolizing, yeah, we're not the top anymore. Like they've been overtaken by the fungus and the virus. So I thought that was really sick. Now I want to know from a guy who hasn't actually
From a
played
normie.
from a normie, you haven't played the game. And did you watch anything, read anything about the story prior? How vanilla are you coming into this?
I just know basic stuff just from like hearing people talk about it.
Okay.
Or seeing stuff online.
So you knew who Ellie was?
I knew who Ellie and Joel were.
But you didn't
and
know,
I knew
like-
his daughter died.
Okay.
So I know that aspect of it,
That's
but I don't
unfortunate.
really know any
Yeah.
of the other, like what happens or anything, what happens at the end of the game. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Like you guys said, it was the tension. You could always feel there was something going, like they built it really well with the tension, with kind of just like, you hear something on the radio, the helicopter flying over, like when she's at the clock shop, right? And then the lady comes in, is like, you got to go. And so it's building all this kind of tension that's just really well done.
Yeah, the background like sounds from the time where they were at the clock shop onto she woke up because of a huge explosion.
Yeah.
It's like the background noise was like by barely being turned up and like added little things, and then you heard a little bit more helicopters and you heard a little bit more airplanes, which in the intro he was talking about airplanes are going to be the number one reason why fungus and viruses can spread so easily. And it's like they did all these little things to kind of like emphasize that big warning they did at the beginning of the series, and it just kept getting, it was like a really nice build up.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed all that kind of stuff. And like you guys have already said, the acting's really good. And kind of even, so after it goes, the introduction, when it does the time jump, I thought the scene where the little kid, basically comes out of the quarantine zone or whatever, and then he gets picked up, and they're doing they show his shoes, so you make sure you know who it is.
That's
and
the
then
linking.
and then when they put him in the chair and they're doing this whole like, we're gonna get you out of this food and this can, like all the toys you
Fresh
want,
clothes,
right? And then it just they inject him, and then the next scene is you're reintroduced to Joel, and then he's grabbing that kid.
It's so messed up too, because he's like carrying the kid. And
Right.
he just like 20 years ago carried his kid.
Yeah.
right.
You know
and
what
so
I mean?
yeah,
But there's two different looks in his eyes. One, he lost his world. Next one,
Yeah, he
it's
doesn't
nothing
care.
to him because he's been so deadened to it.
yeah. So I just thought that was real. Those type of scenes really worked and were just really well done. The other scene happens that I really enjoyed was at the end. Happens at the end of the episode, where the guy's basically threatening the girl again, and he's standing in the way, and it kind of does the flashback to kind of him being there, and then he just goes crazy on the dude and is like destroying his face. Like that scene to me also was really powerful, because it was like, he's still damaged over this. Like having that connection to the beginning of the episode to the end was just really well done. So I really enjoyed it, and I think it's going to be a really good series.
In that scene specifically, so I thought this was interesting because they've changed some things, right? Just little things here and there. And every little change they've made, I'm like, these are great changes. I don't really care. But that last change I thought was still good, but I thought it was interesting because in the game, it's just a quick little boom, boom. He grabs the gun, shoots him in the head, done. But in the show, it was like really brutal.
Yeah.
And like he focused on the blood that he like was doing. Like it was, I feel like a better change because it had a lot more impact that, oh yeah, he connected to that like past memory and then just lost control. And it's like, I have you get the feeling like, oh, well, he's done this before. Like, he's lost it before because of all the pain that he's gone through and all the trauma. So I don't know, I thought it was a good change because if you just shoot a guy, it's pretty lackluster and it's like over really quick. But just little changes like that I thought were really good. Like the zombie being the old lady that we invested time in, that's a lot better, right? It feels a little bit more impactful than just a neighbor that we didn't really know of, but Joel knew who he was, and he's done.
And the fungus out of there.
Yeah,
That was creepy,
creepy.
dude. And that was interesting because they don't do that until a little bit later. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah. So, music-wise, how'd you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, they basically
like suspense.
Yeah, they basically. Stuff. I mean, we kind of have the same music from the game, so for me, it worked well. It wasn't like distracting or anything like that. It was like the perfect amount of like was always present and not like overshadowing anything. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, same. And I think at least what I get from the first episode that they seem to be doing really well is the transition from video game to TV show. Like we said, it's basically almost shot for shot, but they're just extending the things that need extending for like a TV show format. Yeah. And it's so far, I think they have done extremely well with it. But yeah, in terms of the music, it's again, thank goodness that they're using the themes from the game because it's such a important part of the game, and specifically, we'll get to it later with like actual music in the game with the characters is very important. So I'm excited to see that unfold. And did you guys stick around for the end? They had like a little behind the scenes thing at the very end of the episode. Mm-mm. Yeah, they basically just kind of do a recap of the episode and do kind of little cool like shout outs here and there and some, like special things like, oh, that's a call out to this in the game and that.
Oh,
no, I didn't see it.
So I'm assuming they'll do that for every episode, but yeah, it was, it really made me want to play the game again. And as much as I want to do that, I want to just go through the show right now and just kind of let that play out and see their take on it. But yeah, there's something about this world that, I mean, it's uber depressing, but it just sucks you right in. And I think it says a lot about the cast too, because the cast is just great. Like Joel is Joel. Like I just see Joel on the screen. I see Ellie on the screen. Even the side characters, I think, have done a very good job at like bringing the characters from the video games to a TV show. So I was very pleased with the show, but I know what's coming, and some of the stuff is hard.
It's a testament to the video game writers as well, because it's very rare for it to be word for word. Some of those big moments, they're the exact same lines. Mm-hmm. So that's crazy, and it felt super normal and natural and really good and not cheesy or anything like that. So it's a testament to the game writers.
Along those lines, like one of the things I saw, because again, first, I've never played the games, so I'm going into it, watching it, and not really comparing it to the games. And I think for the most part, people are saying it's pretty faithful. But I did see some people complaining, and to me, it was silly. But I want to get what you guys, because you guys have played it.
Okay.
So they changed the way the infection kind of spreads, because like in the game, apparently it's like when they get to closed areas, they have to put their masks on.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of the spores.
Yeah.
Right. And so the guy, the director was saying that they had to change that because like if we really think about it, like if it was airborne, everyone would be screwed.
Right.
Like it just doesn't work that way. So they kind of decided to change it that way. I'm fine with that. That to me makes sense, because then it creates an area where then you're like, well, why weren't they wearing a mask in that moment? And like if you just inhale one spore, you're screwed. So I thought that was a good change, because I think it lends itself to that world to kind of not have plot holes or be like, well, how did he survive and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you guys that have played the game, are you guys okay with that? Does it bother you?
I mean, in the long run, it's not a huge deal. Like, I can't really think of anything that like really like connects that to like a plot element. It's just it adds to the danger of it when you're playing the game. He was saying that like, oh, it really doesn't make sense, but I mean, this whole thing is ridiculous anyway. Like, it doesn't really, it's not possible theoretically.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, actually, there's an article that's saying it actually could happen.
Well, any virus or
is that on the Onion? Or?
No, because that whole aspect of the fungi that takes over like the insects, like it actually does that. So they're like, well, technically, if there was something that would happen,
if the Earth were warmer, and they evolved, just like they told us in the beginning.
But I mean, it's definitely not a deal breaker, but I would have been totally fine with him doing masks.
Yeah,
no big deal.
I don't. It's kind of tough because on one hand I'm thinking, well, it would look cool. You know what I mean? It'd be kind of sick for them to break out the the masks when they're underground and kind of no air movement areas where the spores have been planted. But I mean, I don't know. It does strike me as a little silly that he's like, well, actually, it wouldn't make sense. It's like, well, a lot of things don't make sense. Like, be careful with that because it's a slippery slope, right? I think it's more of a convenience thing where you can.
Oh, absolutely,
it's a lot easier to convey emotion when you have full access to the whole face, and it just looks a lot easier to kind of like convey that.
It was in Pedro Pascal's.
Yeah, no helmet,
Ryan,
no helmet.
Done wearing a mask.
A mask is a
Seeing
helmet.
my face.
Where it made sense for me though was because there's that one scene where they're going underground to that place and they go into the room and there's like the person that's been like there's a complete
in the wall.
Yeah.
fungi man, right? And so to me is like if it was the case where it was airborne, they'd have to have a mask walking through that whole area in case that happens. Because if they didn't, it'd be like, oh, you guys already inhaled it. So
but
to me that makes sense to be like any moment where they're in like a building and they're unsure, they'd have to put the mask on.
They do kind of lose out on like another like level of added tension though.
Yeah.
That I mean, you could have a lot of scarier things happening when you need to have this extra level of protection needed.
Yeah.
I think it's a little different though. Like for me, if I'm thinking, this is me just assuming in the game when you put the mask on, you can kind of hear the breathing changes and that kind of stuff. I would assume, right? Like, is it like, are you seeing from that perspective, or is it?
No, it's
is
third
that not
person.
third person?
Yeah.
So it doesn't change at all. That
No.
I was going to say because maybe if it makes the person that's playing like more invested in that area. But to me, it's like visually, after you see someone putting on a mask, it kind of loses its, because you're not in that position, you're watching it. Does that make sense? So to me, it just seems like it'd be something that they'd constantly have to be like, well, we did it in this area, so now we have to do it again. So to me, it makes sense that they're not doing it.
Yeah, I think in the game, it's just like a game mechanic, basically. So anytime you're going into the basements, you're always like, got to put our masks on because we don't know what's down there. Or they'll be like, oh, there's spores, and they'll throw their masks on really quick. So it's always kind of like a...
But it's not the moment you are like 10 feet within, you're dead. Like you're taking over. No, it's like, it just lowers your like it makes your chance of getting it way lower.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, it's like, would I like to have the spores? I think yes, probably, because I think it adds to more storytelling you can do. Like Mick said, you've got more tension with, we don't have a mask on. Let's run and get away from these guys because they don't have, or we have masks. They don't have masks. We can get away from them.
Right.
The spores.
That is a thing.
There's that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And then also like your vision isn't obstructed when you put on the mask, but when you're in the basement, there is more. You can see it's like dusty. The spores are around you, so it definitely changes the ambiance a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do get what he's saying, because it's like it really doesn't make sense, because if you're covered in spores and you leave the place and you take your mask off, you're still covered in all the spores, so you would be infected.
It makes it complicated.
So I get what he's trying to say, and it makes sense from that point of view. And I think it was probably just a convenience thing of like, we don't really want to like 3 times an episode be like, all right, we're going inside, put your mask on, and then have to explain it away like, all right, let's get outside so we can take our masks off. So I think it's...
Let me dust them spores off you before you take your mask off.
Do you have a fan? We can blow these spores off. So for me, it's like, I think it's probably a necessary change when you adapt it to TV just to make it work more. But I think we do lose out on a little tension. But overall, I'm sure there's people out there that are like super upset about it.
Well, that's what I saw. A bunch of people being upset about it. Like, this is the dumbest thing. And I was like, kind of.
I mean, there's reasons why they did it. And I think in my opinion, the reasons make sense, are valid.
Yeah. If that's the thing that they're going to like take out or change, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, that's like the lowest rung for me. Like, yeah, take it out. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of more important things that if they changed.
The show's not going to have Ellie.
Yeah.
It's more convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's always what happens. Like, Crystal was reading me some complaints on there that people were like, I don't know why they had to recast him. Why didn't they just have the original actors? People are like,
because Ashley's way too old.
An adult plays Ellie, or then people were like, "Well, the farm was technically on fire on the right hand side of the game,
and actually his name wasn't this; it was this.
Right?
It wasn't
Bro,
Lewis.
who cares?
It was Jimmy
Right.
Well, that's Lewis.
Yeah.
Louise or something.
So it's like one of those things where you're like, you just do you want like a shot for shot remake of a game? Because
play the video game.
That's boring. Like this was followed everything really close, but then they expanded on a bunch of other stuff that we didn't see, like the background with Joel basically working with the guards and stuff like that. Getting to know that specific guard really had a good payoff at the end, where he ends up killing him basically to protect Ellie, like just out of instinct. So that expansion of the things I think really worked, and wasn't just like a shot for shot, remake of what happened in the game.
And I think that's a problem that a lot of people fall into when they're making video game conversions, is they they're too scared to kind of make stories make sense, because in a game we have, here's the cutscene, then we have gameplay, then we have next cutscene. The gameplay dictates how we got there. Maybe when you fight and stuff, you have dialogue that's happening. You might take out a dude that really matters, and it was a cool scene or something like that. Like, all those things matter, but you can't have that gameplay aspect. You need to fill it in with story. And guess what? That wasn't in a cutscene, so you have to fill that in. So, yeah. No, I'm super pleased with it. If I had to like initially just give like a rating, it'd be like an 8-9, close to a 9. Really, really good. Really, really good.
9.2.
9.2. That's good. I wish you didn't know Joel's daughter died.
Do you know what?
That is such a big bummer for me.
Yeah,
I wish I could have talked to someone who didn't know that.
Do you know what's dumb though? Like, so
what's dumb?
On the subject of people doing stupid things. So there's people on Twitter that I follow that haven't played the games either. And so I was like looking at their reactions, and people were going into their comments, and like several guys posted like, why are people coming in and telling me what happens?
That's annoying.
And it's like people that have played the games, and they've been like, you've had 15 years to play the game. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
Thing, yeah.
You can't, like, some people just don't play video games, or some people, weren't excited to play a zombie game. Like, you know, there's certain things. Well, and so to then go in and be like, hey, let me tell you what happens, and when this happens, just because you've played it and you feel like you're entitled to tell people, like, spoil it for some people, that to me drives me nuts. So I just feel like that's stupid.
Well, and they're writing the show for people that don't know the story.
Right.
That's stupid. I mean, they wouldn't go through setting up Sarah for, a good chunk of the episode if people knew what happened.
Yeah.
Like, it just, that's dumb.
Or they would have showed it in trailers. Right? Like, oh, remember this scene from the game? So, we're going to see that.
If you didn't know what happened and you were watching the show, you would think Sarah's probably the main character.
Yeah.
And then it has the switch. And
in the video game, they also had a cheeky way of getting you really involved. It's because you controlled her at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was effed up. Because you're like, okay, this is the girl. Okay, we're going to be the girl, and we're going to survive the apocalypse or whatever. And nope.
And you don't survive.
That was crazy, man. But I've got a great idea for your problem. I would love for those guys who are in their chats and comment sections to come into our video comment sections.
Yes.
And spoil everything for us. That'd be awesome. Just go at it, guys. I would love that. That'd be awesome. That's a good solve. Instead of them, come to us. We can take it. Josh, what do you think out of 10? So just first impression.
First impression, I think it's a 9. Yeah. It's a solid 9.
Yeah.
Just like
rock solid.
Just visually, it's really well done. I think it's the same like showrunner that did Chernobyl, which I haven't watched yet. People keep telling me I need to watch it. Josh Lusso keeps telling me to watch it.
We don't listen to him though.
But
get in the comments. Spoiled Chernobyl.
They all die.
What happens?
But yeah, I mean, it just looks great. The acting is all great. Every single actor just knocked it out of the park. The dude that's Gabrielle Luna, right? That's playing Tommy. Sounds exactly like Tommy from the game. It's crazy.
So accurate.
It's pretty nuts.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Tommy's the brother, right?
Yeah.
I heard a back-to-back like comparison. I was like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
that's tough.
And I mean, yeah.
So close.
So yeah, it's all been great. I think it's adapted from the games really well, and I'm really excited to see kind of what they, what changes they make, what kind of stays the same, and see where the story goes. The ending was also like a great setup. Seeing like the collapsed buildings and stuff like that, which is such an iconic just shot
Straight from the game.
From the last.
Did you see the clickers on the side?
Yeah, on the
cool.
standing up on the building. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the only thing I'm worried about looking forward is just kind of how the story's going to go. Because, like, we're not going to talk about it, but, like, I don't know. We were talking about it before we started this, but, there's a lot of grim outlook, but, there's some good stuff. But I'm just kind of concerned and I'm interested to see how, because we got 8 episodes. Is that right? Or less?
I think it's 8. It's 8 or 9, I think.
8 or 9?
Something like that.
What?
We just always do this.
I don't know.
We say how many episodes, and we're like 8 or 9.
Or maybe give 10. Or take a 2.
Yeah,
I think 2 episodes.
I'd say
that for us.
between 7 and 10.
I think it's 8.
Have we ever
I think it's 9. I think it's 9.
I'm not sure if we're going to get an hour and 20 every time because this was the pilot, and I don't think we're going to get that. But
I think we will.
If we get an hour every time.
I think next week is supposed to be around 50 minutes.
15 minutes, okay.
50.
Wow, they got really short.
5-0.
Mick, what did you give? What would you give it?
Man,
ranking.
I would give it a high 9.
High 9.
High 9.
Say the number.
Like 9.5.
Oh,
That's great. That's great. Super high. Super high.
The fact that as soon as the music came on, the visuals, the characters that I'm familiar with were on the screen, it just immediately brought me back to how I was feeling while playing the game. Mm-hmm. And that's something I can't say about
Uncharted.
Same developer, and I love those Uncharted games like just as much as the Last of Us games, and I definitely couldn't say it for the Uncharted movie. So the fact that they have just nailed like the tone of the game, just the necessary like grimness of the world that they're living in, and just how the characters are carrying themselves. I think it's, at least for this first episode, it's done like extremely well. So
I mean, if I think back on it, there's not a moment that I'm like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of like,
dude, I was searching. I was looking the whole time.
Yeah, that to me is like,
you guys, you want to know what the thing I didn't like was?
Let me guess.
There's one little mistake.
When she had the eggshells and she was like calcium, and she like kind of like spit out her food a little bit.
I thought that was funny. No, when they're out in the rain running and stuff like that, and they're like trying to get, when they're in the city,
right at the end,
they're soaked, and then they walk into the building.
I did think the same thing.
Yes!
There's no
water.
They look wet, but they don't.
No. They had the sound. They had the sound.
But there was no
water.
There
was no watermarks with the feet that were
Are you
walking
serious?
in. Get wrecked.
It's stupid.
I'll buy one thing, baby.
It's a 5. It's a 5. It's totally a 5.
But that's what I thought. I was like, dang, that's the only thing I found. That's pretty good.
You guys think we don't notice that kind of stuff?
Guys, we got hyper.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Attention.
Like, if I look back on it, I'm like, everything worked. Like, I was invested in the relationships, like between Joel and his daughter. Like, to me, it's like the scenes they had made me in the matter of like, because it's like 20 minutes, that whole before
the
when
prologue
when she dies, and to me it was like, it was effective. Every scene they had between them, you felt like the chemistry they had. It actually felt like a father and daughter. Like, that all worked. The brother relationship worked really well. So to me, it was like, if I look back on it, it's like, why wouldn't I give it a 10? Just because I'm like, there's nothing. I was invested the whole time. There wasn't a point where I was like, this is dumb, or I don't like that actor. Everything worked. All the scenes had a purpose. So it's not like I was like, that's a throwaway scene, but everything worked. I thought it was really cool how they did kind of like, they're not explaining the world to you. You're just kind of picking up like, oh, they're the fireflies, like you're just kind of picking up they're not spelling it out to you. You're going to figure out as the show goes on, like what these factions are. And I just thought that was really effective because it's like, it's interesting and they're not spelling it out for you. You're kind of like trusting that you're smart enough to connect the dots. So to me, it was like, why it just seemed like a perfect intro.
Yeah.
There was enough action in it, enough suspense in it, and storytelling. To me, the music fits awesome. The visuals are great. Yeah, I mean, I'm changing. I'm giving it a 10.
Whoa.
So foolish.
Because the wetness, I didn't even notice
Nah,
it.
at least make it a 9.9.
Okay.
for
Please
that.
don't say 9.9.
9.9.
For the
9.9.
Did you say you don't know anything else that happens though?
9.9.
Keep it that way.
I know some of the stuff that happens in
Wait.
Last of Us 2
Okay.
because I've heard people complain about
Just
it.
ignore that.
Yeah.
Wait, can I just ask him a question
Yeah,
on this
yeah, yeah.
9.9?
Yeah.
Sorry, did you like shed a tear or something when she died or something?
Bro, I cried. I actually cried.
You would, and Crystal did.
I got a little
don't have kids.
misty, but I was mentally preparing myself for it.
Yeah.
Because I knew she was going to die. So I was like trying not to put my daughters in that position.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are heartless.
I don't know,
if
man.
you didn't get a little misty-eyed.
Is the moment when he's like holding her and she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and you
And then
see
he's
all
like,
the
Tommy,
blood, yeah.
help.
And he's like, yes. Yeah, it was
When people ask other people for help when other people are dying, it always gets me. Same thing with Stranger Things.
What do you mean?
You know, when he's holding Max and he's like, "Help me!"
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, it
That's
gets me.
tough.
Like,
It's tough.
that's rough, bro.
It's because they're at the end of their road,
you can't
right?
do anything.
They're literally out of options.
Yeah.
And they would if they could.
Yeah,
That's the only thing you can say.
it's true.
Brutal.
So yeah, I got
Oh,
misty-eyed.
man, you guys get me misty
I got
right
misty-eyed,
now.
bro.
yeah, and I also enjoyed
No, I got a little tight.
I also enjoyed the scene where it's the neighbors and he has the biscuits and he's just like shoving the biscuits in the lady's mouth. He's like, she's just like staring with the biscuits in her mouth.
What did you feel in that moment?
No, I just said I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed
wanted
that
to bite
scene.
it,
It's a
really?
fantastic scene. He's like just shoving the biscuits in the old lady's mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Did you? Did you?
Chocolate chip, raisin.
Not raisin.
Did you have any idea that Ellie was like? She didn't turn basically. Like,
Yeah, what do you think
Oh,
of
I
Ellie
knew
when-
about that.
did you know about that?
I knew
Okay.
about that.
Dang it, you knew everything.
I knew that.
There'll be no surprises for you.
So I had
All the
forgotten
surprises.
about that, but when they were like, when she was in there and they were like,
Oh, then you were like,
Asking
oh, I
when she was
remember
like-
why she's special.
1, 2, counting up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, she's the one that like doesn't get. They're trying to get the cure from her or something, right? Something like that.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Best chance.
I don't
It's
know.
their best
Anyways,
chance.
Tune in
so
next week.
I knew that.
Okay. Man, I gotta find some people that don't know anything
I
about the show.
know,
I can
dude.
talk
You
to them.
suck, man. Why'd you have to read stuff on it?
You know, we set you up as the
dang it.
everyday man that wouldn't know anything,
Yeah.
so you could be like, "Wow, it's incredible! I wasn't expecting
All right,
it." And
yeah,
now
that
you're
would
like,
have been so
Next
Next
I do
week,
that.
I'll do that.
Now we need to get my dad on the show.
"Yeah, there you go."
Just have Randy call in.
Yes, I was quite surprised. Awesome.
I think that's gonna do
That'll
it for
do
our
it.
the Last of Us episode 1 discussion.
I think so.
Yeah, it was a great pilot. And next week we'll get another one, right?
Yep, every
So,
week.
hey, keep it here, guys. We're going to go over every one of them when it comes out, and we're super stoked for it. Let us know what you guys thought. Did you guys think it was a 9.9? Maybe 10? I don't know.
Did the water bother you when the steps weren't
Go
wet?
back, watch it. We saw it. You'll never unsee it.
What
now.
would you rather have, a chocolate chip or a raisin biscuit?
Cookie.
Well, he's British.
A chocolate chip.
Hey, chocolate raisin biscuit.
True.
We'll be doing this to the very last of them episode.
Boo.
And on that note, see you guys later.